Hey folks, this is Book Talk with Corbin. I am your host. Wanted to go live today briefly talking about a book. It's a classic. It's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Now you can get this book at Better World Books. You probably can get a copy at Amazon.com. And this is something I highly recommend that you do. Buy a copy for yourself and buy a copy for a young person in your family or network. Let me give you a brief history behind how the book came to be written. Andrew Carnegie, who at the time was one of the richest men in the world, if not the richest man in the world, he approached a journalist. That journalist's name was Napoleon Hill. And actually, I'm really not 100% sure if Napoleon Hill approached him or Carnegie approached Napoleon Hill. But what happened was, here's the way it worked. Carnegie said, hey, I want you to write this type of book. And if you do, I will give you introductions. And what was the type of book he wanted Napoleon Hill to write? He wanted Napoleon Hill to interview some of the most successful people in the world at that time. And maybe out of that, sort of figure out or determine what are some things people have to do in order to be highly successful in life. Now, the title, in my opinion, Think and Grow Rich, is a little misleading in that people assume rich means, making a whole lot of money. No, rich means being successful. And what's successful is when you are pursuing your calling, when you are pursuing what you've been called to do, when you are pursuing your passion. That is quote unquote rich. Yes, many of those people that Napoleon Hill interviewed were very wealthy financially. But what was sort of key with all of them, or what was sort of characteristic of all of them, was that every one of these folks said, hey, I'm following my calling. I'm doing what I love, and I love what I do. And they just relentlessly went after that. You know, the definition of success, riches, or wealth for them was steadily, consistently, in a disciplined manner, pursuing worthwhile goals that were leading them towards what they wanted to do, such as a Mary Bethune and her building of a university, Booker T. Washington and building a university, and on like that. Many examples like that. The white cultural Marxists, the white socialists, the Democratic Socialists of America, the left wing of the Democratic Party, they want black folk, women, etc., to view themselves as victims. Man, if you don't, you got to view people have to view themselves as victims, and those are the people you can easily control, dominate, what have you. Oh, I'm a victim. These people are doing this to me. These people are doing that to me. These people, their behavior over here is cause for me to suffer in this way. They got to have victims, victimhood. And, that's just it. That's the way you control them. That's why, mainly conservative thought is pretty much like, hey, take responsibility for yourself, regardless of your circumstances. You can overcome. You can be a better person, and you can do better things. So a lot of times conservatives are saying, hey, government, get out of my way. If you just leave me to myself and my own resources, I can do this. Conservatives are not saying no government. They're not anarchists. But they're just saying, government, don't keep throwing obstacles in my way. Let me do what I got to do in order to pursue my passion, etc. As long as it's legal, obviously. So I'm going to put it this way: when you think about that book, Think and Grow Rich, and its very powerful message, and then the examples it gives. It gives example after example after example. Then it outlines some principles. Let me tell you something. You're not going to find most people within the Democratic Party. I mean, the hierarchy, the leadership of the Democratic Party, like Senator Warnock and Stacey Abrams, those type of folks, they're not reading Think and Grow Rich. They're not reading that kind of book. You're going to find that more amongst conservatives, patriots, and Republicans. I mean, that's just the way it is. Now, Napoleon Hill then, they worked on a manuscript called Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. Yeah, they were doing a Think and Grow Rich edition or version focused 100% on black folk. And what happened was Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, he approached the Napoleon Hill Foundation, and they said, yeah, sure, we'd love for you to publish that manuscript, to take it from there. So Dennis Kimbrough, he went around and he started talking to highly successful black folk, okay? And the message in Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice by Dennis Kimbrough is the same message that Napoleon Hill put out in Think and Grow Rich, and that is, regardless of your circumstances, you can overcome. And you can not only overcome, but you can do better, much better. It doesn't matter if you're black or white, male or female, rich or poor, you can do better. And here's some things you need to do in order to get better. Okay, some practical principles, some common sense principles. And so, they put that out. So get that book too, Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. And again, you go look at a lot of these black liberals, these black radicals. And I'm talking about locally too, particularly talking about locally here in Louisville. Man, they're not reading those kind of books. Because Dennis Kimbrough, Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, they're not saying to folk, oh, you're a victim. Blame your circumstances on somebody else. You can't overcome your circumstances unless the government is giving you a handout or something. No, they're saying those kind of books, no, they don't want you exposed to that. They don't want you exposed to that. They don't want you exposed to that at all. And by the way, just in case some people are wondering, Dennis Kimbrough is a black man. Dr. Dennis Kimbrough is a black man. And he teaches at an HBCU. So I just wanted to share those two books right there, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and then Think and Grow Rich by Dennis Kimbrough. And he did that. He wrote Think and Grow Rich. Dr. Dennis Kimbrough wrote Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, in cooperation with the Napoleon Hill Foundation. Do your research on that. See if I'm correct on that, but I'm pretty sure that I am. But if I've made some errors in describing something, let me know. Be more than happy to correct myself. And I also just want to flat out encourage people, get those two books, and not only get them, but share them with a young person. So I say this, one thing that's really needed in the black community, we need to get away from this self-destructive, dysfunctional nonsense you see, not with every black person, but with too many. Just too many. And we need to get, within the black community, we need to get away from this victimhood mentality. I'm a victim, I'm a victim, I'm a victim. That's just plain stupid. And we also need to get away from this anti-intellectualism that's too clear in the black community. We need to get away from that. And reading books like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice by Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, that's going to help us get a different paradigm, get a different way of shifting our thinking, and shifting our thinking that much more towards achievement and striving for greatness. And there's one other thing I want to say. Go to YouTube and put in there Think and Grow Rich, and there's a documentary, well, they call it a docudrama, that talks about Think and Grow Rich, and you need to check that out. I was just watching that today. It is very good. I was very impressed with it. So you need to check that out. Folks, okay, this is Book Talk with Corbin. Please subscribe, like my podcast and all. Go to my website, booktalkwithcorbin.com, Corbin. I'm also on YouTube. And Facebook page. Check it out. Please like and subscribe.